Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Mad Capper, and there's another video on Raid Shadow Legends, and the second of our double feature Grindhouse with Toragi and Venomage. This is Toragi, so without further ado, let's just get right into it and talk about Toragi the Frog. Fog Blessing places a shield buff equal to 15% of this champion's max HP and a 50% ally protection buff on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. Also heals this champion by 25% of their max HP and places a 30% reflect damage buff on them for 3 turns. The heal increases by 2.5% for each poison debuff on the enemy team. Potent Stench attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. The chance increases by 5% for each debuff on the enemy team. Swamp Club attacks 1 enemy, has a 30% bookable to 40% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. Toxic Blood, passive. When attacked, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. Occurs once per hit. There you go. You can see Toragi doing some strong damage here, assisting the team. Don't forget that he is putting poisons up, so he is doing good damage there, but he's also got the decreased attack. He's also got the taunt, and the taunt is especially important on that second wave. It keeps the enemy from putting up that reflect damage that is the team killer for any team coming up in Ice 20 or 24 for that matter. Either of them with the Spirit Affinity have that those stupid I don't remember which dogs they are, the ones that put up the reflect damage. So this team, you've got Hope, you've got Stagnite. Obviously Stagnite is a mainstay in Ice Golem, but Hope putting up those shields. You got Frostbringer with the speed and the attack up and everything going on there. And of course you've got Venomage doing the damage, but Toragi is the glue that holds it all together with doing the second most damage on the team in his own right. So very strong in this team, very strong comp altogether. Yes, it's not going to be a blazing, but it's going to be consistent. So you do these overnight. This is for something if you don't have the best team and you're just looking for something to get you through to do Ice Golem for, say, 39 tournament points, which those are the last 39 points I'm getting because I'm not doing that stupid tournament. But here you go, a team you can put together. All right, now it is time to take a look at the Clan Boss run. Here it is. It's a different team. You've probably never seen it before. You'll probably never see it again. But if you need this sort of team to get you through Ultra Nightmare or even Nightmare Clan Boss, you can do that. And I'm going to show you how. Before we go any further, I'm going to head over to the Deadwood Jedi Clan Boss calculator to show you what's going on here. And this thing, by the way, deadwoodjedi.com, if you can't figure out that this is the place you need to be for all your needs when it comes to the clan boss, then you have been fooled. But you take a look here, you can punch in the speeds. We'll talk more about the speeds after the run, but I just wanted to show you this so that you can put this through. And the best thing is this is based off of this right here. Make sure you can see it. The White Whale Lydia with Extender. Now, what I had to do, because I wasn't using Lydia, is I had a 4-turn speed increase instead of a 3-turn with Lydia, of course putting Frostbringer in. So I brought in 2 extenders also on a 4-turn. And as long as you get them through, it works the same way. As you can see, some slight differences in speeds. I had to bring Hope down to 250, and then we brought thank gosh we were able to put Flesh Terror down even further down to I think 236 instead of 254 because he's an 89 base speed. But we were able to get it work more or less with this. But this is the best thing. You can take this calculator, plug in your champions, play with the speeds until you figure out what works for you. And as we said, you look here, and then by turn 11, they're in full 2-to-1. It does take 11 turns. Maybe smarter people than me would be able to get that down to like a 6-turn or whatever, 7-turn. But with this, full auto. So why don't we show you? We're gonna run the run, and then we're gonna talk about the champion. The Grindhouse double feature. We're going to talk about 2 champions after this, but we'll talk about the champions and we'll talk about how this run is set up. So let's just watch that clan boss run now. In the previous Venomage video, we just showed an abbreviated version of this fight. In this video, we're going to include the entire fight at 2x speed. There are timestamps down below, so if you do not want to see the entire fight, you can skip ahead to the next section, but I thought it would be good in one of the 2 videos to have the entire boss fight, just in case you wanted to see what happens, what goes on, and at what point they start failing, etc., etc. So from here on forward, it's going to be 2x speed, and if you want to skip forward, you can jump ahead to the next marker. And this is the beginning of the end. Toragi going down for the count, the big hit. His ally protect, you have to remember, is going to take the shot. So for those of you who had not watched the Venomage previous video, there'll be a link somewhere on the screen there, depending on what device you were on. But opportunity to check out Venomage in this comp as well and talking about her. But this, of course, is Toragi. And with him down, it is only a matter of time in the big slam. And of course, the fact that I was able to get this in before that happened, which was a little bit of a panic at 4:30 a.m. But there it is. 3 key UNM team you've never seen before, I assume. Always fun doing something different. And this is different. Yes, it's not the 700 million you get when you put together an Infinity team and you give Victor a goal of being the best. It's not an unkillable, a set and forget and walk away, do 1 key. But this is for the middle class, for those of you who are just pushing, and maybe you're like, well, I don't have Maneater, I don't have insert champion A or B here, I don't have Brogni, I don't have Chris, these sort of champions. Well, here's an all Magic Affinity, all epic team, all champions, at least for the support champions, that you would never, in my opinion, think about putting into the clan boss, but when you put them together, it works for a 2-to-1 comp, and then it's just insert your poisoners here, keeping in mind that this is the baseline. 3 key Ultra Nightmare baseline. You could take this, you could put in a Draco and lock in those speeds. You could put in try a Eurogrim. He puts up, hey, he gets hit, he puts up poisons, very similar to Toragi, with a much better survivable mechanism on his side too. So keep in mind, you can use legendary champions in here. If you wanted to use Claude Beast Feeder is the one I wanted to use. I realized I didn't have him. That was my original goal here. If you put Claude in for Frostbringer, then you also don't need Hope. And instead of bringing in Flesh Terror, you bring in Godseeker Aniri, who's a 3-turn cooldown. They're both 3-turn cooldowns, so you get that speed on a 3-turn, similar to the Lydia. You plug it in using that White Whale Lydia, except for you use those champions in, and then you can bring in a Nuker or a block debuff so that it's affinity friendly, or whatever you want, a Doom Priest to cleanse. You've got options with this team, which is kind of fun. This is the base line, like I said, but I can't say it enough. It was very fun to build because it's something so different and something that I didn't think had been out there yet. So, okay, so here's the team. We're going to go through all 5 of them. In the lead, Toragi the Frog. I put him in lead because at some point I thought I was going to use him for the stuns. Then I realized I didn't have Claude, so everything fell apart on that matter. And so Veno's going to take the stuns. You could probably play around, but I think that Toragi is fine in the lead. The resist all battles, I guess, if you want. I don't honestly. I don't think any of them have a good aura for this. So I'm pretty sure they're all dungeon or faction wars. So except for him, maybe Venos is an accuracy one, and she's taking the stun anyway. So you could argue that. But you see here, Toragi here, 84,000 HP, 2,100 defense, 221 speed, 297 accuracy. I prioritize HP over defense for Toragi because, of course, he does a self heal and he's doing the ally protect. So we want him with as much health as possible. Plus, all his stuff is based off of HP, so it's an added bonus. Of course, we have the decreased attack. We have the ally protection with his self shield to help him survive, and the heal increases for each poison debuff on the enemy team. Keep that in mind. Very strong against when paired with any other poisoner. So you put Toragi with Veno. You put Toragi with your is it Eurost? I said Eurogrim earlier. I apologize. Eurost. You have you put him in with Draco, right? Any of these poison champions, and it's just going to make that heal that much better, which is also really nice because then he's taking all that damage and being able to heal up. We lock out Potent Stench. Just isn't really needed. It's an AoE. We only have one target. It's a provoke. We don't need a provoke, so we lock it out. And then the Bog Blessing, like we talked about. Toxic Blood. When he's attacked, it's a 50% chance of a 5% poison debuff, and occurs once per hit. So, we showed it on Void. Think that if you are putting this up against affinity champions and you can bring in that Claude instead, then you're going to get even more value out of this because you're getting hit multiple times on the A1 and A2. Next up, Venomage. Again, this one we're doing a specific setup, and I'll explain a little bit as to why, but HP 35,000, 4,100 defense, 217 speed, 272 accuracy. We did get full crit rate, crit damage for a little bit extra, but the War Master procs are really what matters here. And you see that we're starting with Neurotoxin, followed by Flesh Melter, and there's a reason for that. We'll talk about when we get to Frostbringer, but this is just setting up so I can do full auto from turn 1. So we want Neurotoxin, which puts that decreased defense and attack. We do have Toragi with a backup on the decreased attack, which is also good because if you're swapping in and out different champions, different poison champions, it's good to have different forms of the decreased defense, decreased attack, weaken if you have a set that does have weaken. Obviously, this team doesn't. And then we're going to follow that up with this. So the heal reduction, normally you don't want that to land, but in this particular case, you absolutely do, because that actually does this, which is a 15% heal reduction. It reduces the damage incoming. So that's huge. 15% less damage means more turns against this against the clan boss. And then toxicity just puts it in the decrease. Max HP is not a big deal, but it also can activate a couple of the poison debuffs. So this Veno is really good with another high-end poisoner because it can activate a couple of those poisons. So if you have 5 or 6 poisons, you activate a couple, you get a little extra damage, and you got to tick up. Also very good with Vizier. Unfortunately, I don't have him on this account where you can just run those poisons up, and then she just keeps ticking some of them off to get that extra damage. But it doesn't ruin the fact that you've capped the debuffs. So Frostbringer, we're getting her to do Cones of Cold first, which does have a small chance of putting a heal reduction. Not a big deal because we're typically getting it from Veno. And then on the second turn, we're getting the Arctic Winds. Arctic Winds is some of our champions are attack-based champions, so it does help a little bit with the damage. But more importantly, it's that increased speed on a 4-turn cooldown. That's what's giving us the 2-to-1. The reason why we went this is so third turn, we have a backup decreased defense in case it gets resisted on Veno. And this will happen if the target has a heal reduction debuff, which Veno's putting in turn 2. So Frostbringer then can use this in turn 3 on a 3-turn cooldown and go. And of course, we're making this the priority. I'm pretty sure it is anyway, but just in case there's some weird, background program, we always want to make sure Arctic Wind goes up before she uses Snow Flurry. Talk about it. 268. She is the fastest. It is a very 268 is a grueling speed for a lot of people to gear out, but if you can get there, definitely. 4,500 defense. She cannot die, and we have 45k HP because we do not want her to be the stun target. The bottom 3 cannot be the stun target, or it'll mess up everything unless you have a block/cleanse on your team, which in this particular setup we don't. 240 accuracy just for that A2. If you're not worried about this, you could definitely, if you have to sacrifice something on Frostbringer, sacrifice the accuracy. You don't need it. It's a nice to have if you need that defense down. The good thing is if you need this defense down, it's available to you. So if I didn't have Veno placing that, if I had a different champion, say an Aethar, and I needed that defense down, then you give her accuracy, but you could sacrifice it if you already have that defense down, just to make sure you get that survivability and the speed. Hope is our big shield lady. She is 101, almost 102,000 HP, 1,700 defense, 250 speed, the second fastest on the team. She doesn't need accuracy, she doesn't need resist. If we can get extra crit rate, crit damage, that's nice, but that's not what we're building her out for. We are building her out for Hearten, but you notice we need to make this go first so that she's using her Hearten, which increases as well as puts the shield out after Frostbringer puts the Arctic Winds. So speed up, extend. And then we're getting rid of Holy Storm, only because I don't think it's needed. Arguably, you could say you could keep Holy Storm out and just make sure Hearten is priority 1. And it should work that way, just making sure. But because of the 5, this is a 3-turn and this has a 4-turn cooldown, for the purposes of building out in Deadwood Jedis, I put them both at 4-turn, just so it wouldn't mess up, because you can't do, you can do priority. So you can't switch priority. I guess I didn't need to do that, but whatever. We decided, it's a mythical friend of mine, my imaginary friend. I just didn't bother using Holy Storm. You could, like I said, make Hearten your priority and you'll be fine just there. And then finally, Flesh Terror. His base speed 89 is tough, but 236 speed, 41k HP, 3909 defense. And here you're starting him with Multiply Misery so that this war leader will be priority 1 and it'll go second. And again, so you have a case where you have Frostbringer going, putting up the speed on the second turn. Then you have Hope going, extending that and putting up her shields. Then you have Flesh Tear going in, extending the shields and extending the attack up and the speed up yet again. So you got that 2 turns extend, and that's how this eventually sinks into a 2-to-1 team. And that's the team. So the last thing to do is to take a look at our individual champions. Depending on which video you're in, we might see Veno, we might see Toragi. We'll find out in a second here. Well, here's our champion 2 of the Grindhouse double feature, Toragi the Frog. I dig him. I absolutely dig him. I think he's probably the less value of the 2 overall, but I think he's the more complementary of the 2 overall. I think that if you remove Veno, you have to put in Draco, but either of those champions would work better with Toragi because of the nature of his abilities, especially that ability to, ally protect, which is always a top tier ability to have, and the fact that he's putting up poisons when getting hit. So you can see here, unlike Venomage, who is in Lifesteal, Toragi is in Stalwart just to reduce damage. He has a heal, and he has tons of health, and his health probably could be even higher, but when I'm trying to put together 4 champions in Stalwart gear, it was getting a little touch and go. So in fact, I probably should have, who knows, like, look at that, no HP percent on here. Could have done him even better, but with the speeds and with just the stringent gear requirement, nonetheless, very good champion. And as far as his masteries go, unlike Veno, he is only 50% chance. So this sniper is a top tier ability for him. Every time he gets hit, an extra 5% chance to land those poisons is very nice. And Master Hexer to extend them, of course. And then here, I would actually have put him in Heart of Glory and Life Drinker instead of Grim Resolve and Ruthless Ambush. The reason why he is down this way is because I was originally going to use him with Claude, and I wanted him to be the one taking the stun. So I was going to try to figure that out. In order to do that, he would probably have less health more often. Therefore, but I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other, because he does heal himself. So a lot of that time he might still be using full health. So I would recommend going Heart of Glory and Life Drinker overall on this. But of course, you want that War Master, and you want that the extend and the extra chance to place. And away you go. Now it's time to roll this all together. Video 2 done. Toragi the Frog. Let's go to final thoughts. Final thoughts on Toragi. I really like him. I really enjoy him. I'll be curious to see how usable he will be when it comes to the faction wars, once they finally open up a faction wars for us for Shadowkin. But he has an overall very useful kit. Resist in all battles, a nice to have, especially in Doom Tower, where I think a champion like this is going to do very well for you. The kit here is more of a complementary kit, in my opinion, than Venomage. Venomage was more about get those poisons, make it happen. But Toragi brings more than, he's not just a one-trick pony. He's got the ally protection with the self-shield. The self-shield increases, and it heals himself, which increases with each poison debuff on the enemy team. Well, imagine in that Ice Golem run, he could have healed himself forever. So if you have even less than I had for champions on that, you're going to have a champion who's going to be able to heal himself up near to full, even if he gets hit really hard. On a 3-turn cooldown when booked is very nice. Also, when attacked, 50% chance of placing the poison debuff on the attack for 2 turns. Happens once per hit. Very good against affinity-based clan bosses that do multi-hits on their A1, A2. So this is even stronger there. Keep that in mind. If you pair him with an extender like Vizier, I think he would absolutely excel, because sure, he's only placing 1 to, I think, 6, depending on how things roll out per round of these poisons, but then you extend them and it just keeps happening and happening. So very nice ability. Has the provoke, really good in Ice Golem. Again, really good anywhere you need some sustainability. So I think Doom Towers, though I haven't specifically used them, any provoke, it's an all enemy. I know it's only 50%, but it also has the extra 5% for each debuff on the enemy team. So that makes him really good with Veno, because Veno's putting 2 debuffs with their A2 plus the poisons and the decrease heal on the A3. You get that cycling through, and he can actually provoke quite well. and quite easily. So some food for thought there. And of course, a decreased attack. It's a 40% chance, which is why you want to have that sniper ability to increase these chances. I like this as a backup. I don't like this as your main decreased attack, because it is very scary to run only 40%. Even when doing a counterattack team, it can leave you in the lurch. But overall, really great champion. High HP, can do some decent damage, and very, very fun. Just a fun champion that complements other poisoners very well, can complement other teams very well, no matter where you need to use him. I think that he's what makes that team gel so well together. You put the shields on him, he can put his shields on himself, he can heal himself, you can also heal him, everything going on, and then he just shares that damage from the Ice Golem at level 24, which can hit pretty darn hard. So overall, great champion. I think if you had both Toragi and Veno, I would say it would depend on what your team was. If you only wanted to build one, probably would go with Veno, but it really depends on what you're looking for. There are plenty of arguments to be made that Toragi is the better of the two. It really just depends on what you're putting them with. So there you go. That is my view of Toragi the Frog. I wouldn't change him. Some of these new kits I love. If you want to talk about change, I think 50% I would like to be booked to 60. I don't know if gosh. Yeah, add books, Capper, because they'd never do that. But nonetheless, I would like that to have 5% books on them to get that to 60%. And same here. I would like this to be 40 up to 50%. I think that, you have Tyrell with that ability. You have a couple others. Tyrell, I think, is 60, and I think it's 50 for Jareg. So it's not unheard of. Why not give him that 50-50 chance? So counterattack teams, you can say, hey, the odds are I'm going to be able to keep that up. That's all I have for Toragi. I like him. I hope if you have him and you need him, you build him and you have all the success in the world with him. But that's it for me. I want to thank you for watching the video. I want to thank you for hopefully watching the Venomage. If you did not have the chance, check out the Venomage video as well. Is a Grindhouse double feature. They're both being used in both runs, and then I'm splitting up to 2 videos just to be able to highlight them separately. But that's all I have for you today. Please be kind to one another, even if you have differing opinions. There's a food for thought. Even if you have differing opinions, it's still more important to be a human and be kind. There you go. Leave you with that. And we'll see you in the next video.